Hi guys, it's Blackie for Shaman's Forge Woodscraft. This is a video response to one of my subscribers who's watching my recent Percussion Revolver video where I talked about a gun being loaded long term. I mentioned I had loaded a gun and loaned it to a friend who'd kept it 2 years. But the question that he had was, how do you maintain it in the field? If you shoot it and the rest of the gun's still loaded, what's your procedure? Well, in my research that I've done over the years, I've read quite a few personal journals and transcripts of things from Civil War soldiers, Old West cavalry soldiers, etc. And one of the things that I found kind of interesting was a young soldier, I want to say, I'm probably wrong guys, but I want to say his last name was Allen. And he was from one of the infantry units from Pennsylvania. And he had been tasked with the job of, they had been along the edge of a battle supporting. They weren't actually in the main battle engaged, but they're like guarding the wagon train or whatever. And they had a cavalry unit or something ride by, and a couple of guys had shot. Most of them didn't get a shot. So he'd been told right at dark when everybody was getting into camp that he was to go around and anybody who had shot, make sure they cleaned their gun. Well, what they would do is you take a cup full of warm water and a little cleaning stick with a little rag on it, and they'd run it up and down the board. They'd just break the gun down, set the loaded cylinder to the side, run it up and down and clean the barrel, and then they would, holding the cylinder at an angle like that so that the chamber was on the bottom, they'd run a thing up there and clean it and come back out, making sure the water didn't get on anything else. And they'd dry it out real good and reload it. He also talks about there was a ball puller, and all it was a screw into a pretty good handle, and it was for you had wet caps and the gun wouldn't work. This is right out of the muzzleloading area where you would just stick it up and bear down and twist with your hand, and it would screw into the soft lead ball, and then you would pull and pop it out. You might have to go over to the edge of a fence post and take it and go whack, you know, and get it to come out. Of course, it would be uncapped, but you'd pull the balls out and clean them that way. Several accounts that I've read of cowboys in the West on wagon drives and things like that talked about cleaning their guns, that if they got in a shooting match with the Indians and the gun was completely unloaded or almost unloaded, they would either pull the ball, save the powder, save the cap, because those were expensive, they were paying for them, and then clean the gun as normal and then reload. That pulled ball would be remelted with a little mold and made into a new ball again to reuse. So they were kind of thrifty. Now the Army was a little more fast and loose, is because they had Uncle Sam supplying, or you know, Uncle Davis supplying their stuff, and so they would quite often just fire it and empty it and clean it, from what I've been able to find. What I do in the field is much like that cowboy. I will shoot. If I expect to have another shot in a few minutes, I'll reload that chamber. If I don't expect to have another shot in a few minutes, I'll leave it empty. If I don't think I'm going to have more than, say, a dozen shots today, and I'm just walking along looking for rabbits, and it's one is going to be all I need, I won't reload that chamber. That night in camp, I'll clean it, much like I said, clean the barrel, wipe off the entire exterior, and then I'll go up and clean that individual chamber, making sure not to wet any of the others, and then reload it for the next day. I'm not going to waste powder and cap and ball to clean it. I'm going to leave the rest of the gun loaded. Of course, for safety reasons, pull the caps when you get ready to clean it. Don't be sitting there staring at a loaded cylinder. Accidents happen, and percussion cap only needs a percussion to go bang. So I'm going to take the gun apart and going to be fiddling with it, pull the caps. I mentioned in my video that when I was going to do it, I would not, and that was a mistake on my part. I don't, it's because of all my experience, but that's wrong of me. Do not emulate that. Safety first. take the caps off. If you're going to take the gun apart, take the caps off. You're going to clean it. Set the cylinder where it's not going to fall and do your job. I hope this helps, guys. Please leave any more questions or comments in the box below. I'm Blackie for Shaman's Forge Woodscraft, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.